Hey, I'm Joel Wanasek. I'm a pro mixer and co-founder of NailTheMix.com, the coolest place to learn how to mix rock and metal music in the entire world. And today I'm going to break down and deconstruct the mix from one of the best, greatest, most iconic mixes of all time in heavy music, which is Metallica Sad But True. Let's listen to this absolute colossus of a mix. Here we go. I mean, holy beep, right off the bat, like, I love this mix. It just sounds so massive. Listen to the power of that kick drum and just the dynamics. I love how loud that kick drum is, how bright it is, how much sub thrust it has, how it just punches through the entire mix. And that snare, it's just like a baseball bat hitting like a concrete wall. I don't know. It hits, it slaps. It's like getting slapped in the face as hard as you possibly can by somebody. It sounds freaking brutal. I love how bright it is. I just love this mix. It's so good. All right. Massive drum room sound. I mean, I love those toms. And that guitar tone, it's so heavy. It literally sounds like when you just into an apple, you know what I mean? Like you can taste the tone of this mix. All right, let's get to the heavy riff. Best drum fill ever coming. Wow. You know what blows my mind about this mix is this was done in like, what, 91? I want to say 1990, 1991, somewhere around there. And this still demolishes in 2023. You know what I mean? Like this mix still is the bar. I mean, honestly, I think this might be one of the best heavy mixes in history. It like literally still sounds insane today as much as it did back then. I mean, think about that in terms of timeless. I mean, how many people are going to mix something that in like literally 30 plus years still sounds competitive and badass? I mean, if this came out today, people would be like, damn, this mix slaps. All right, first drums. So pay attention to the kick and the snare. Super bright, very aggressive sounding. This may be one of the brightest mixes I think I've ever heard too. And I love how much energy that brings into it. The bottom end of this record is massive, but the top end is super bright, but still not harsh and smooth. It just, it literally has so much aggression in it. Now the drums are arguably mixed like 3 or 4 dB louder than the rest of the band. And you know, say what you want to say about Lars and his drumming. I think it works in this mix. I mean, it doesn't sound disconnected because the cymbals are so loud. And what it does is like when you crank this bad boy up, right, in your car or, you know, your good system, you know, those drums compress really hard when you crank up your speakers as they start to excurse. And it brings up the guitars and it just sounds like it just murders your ears in terms of like the power of it. It sounds so massive. So there's a really nice bottom end to both the kick and the snare. It's not the fattest, punchiest bottom, but the way it hits harder than like anything I've ever heard. The top end is like of the kick and the snare are like a whip. You know, they're just whoosh, and they just smack you. Like I said, it hits so hard you can actually feel every drum just smack you in the face. All right, let's talk about this guitar and bass. Now, obviously, this is the first Metallica record in, well, okay, I shouldn't say the first, having been a Metallica fan since the late 80s. After Justice, they made a considerable effort to get bass back in the mix. And I gotta say, my God, it makes it so heavy. So much of this guitar tone is the bass guitar. And this is like one of the sickest guitar tones ever. I mean, given the fact that this isn't like, what, is it drop C, I wanna say? I mean, that's not that low of a tuning, yet it's heavier than bands that are down in like an octave, you know, like down in A, B, you know what I mean? It's just like so freaking heavy. It's insane. So listen to how much bass is melded into the guitar tone. So you can hear the guitar is kind of scooped. It's got an upper mid-range bump to it. It doesn't have a lot of hiss or a lot of fizz in it. It doesn't have a ton of low end. Again, this isn't like And Justice for All, but listen to the bottom end of the guitar here. I mean, there's enough of it down there. You know, they're definitely not high passing the guitar, you know, above say 50 hertz. You know, there's some bottom end, but it's not And Justice for All bottom. And that bass tone is really gnarly because, like I said, it gives you that like biting into an apple kind of crunch where you can feel every single pick of Jason Newsted and like the energy off that bass and the guitar and the way that pushes and pulls together. It's just stupid good. It's so freaking badass. Okay, now there's another thing that's kind of cool that's going on in this mix that's a little bit more subtle that you might have not noticed. You hear the shaker that's in there? It's right under the hi-hat. It kind of sounds like a fizzy thing that's in the middle. And it's kind of in there and it really drives. Like if you were to mute that, it would cut rid of the groove. But Metallica has taken one of the heaviest riffs to ever grace drop C and literally throws a shaker on it and uses that to make it hit even harder. That's cool. When you focus your ear on it, you can hear it as loud as day, but most people don't notice that. It's so good. All right, next part of the song. Enter Hetfield. How scary is James Hetfield's right hand? Just like the fact that it can produce a guitar tone like that with just the pick is just like, it's terrifying. I mean, hey, I'm your life. I'm the one who takes you there. And I love the anthemic reverb on the vocals, the subtle delay. Like again, because the drums have a massive ambience to them, right? And this was done in a very, very large room. I remember watching the making of this many, many, many times growing up, especially when I started getting into studio production and just watching this over and over. If they were to do a really dry vocal here and have a really ambient epic drum, it wouldn't gel because the spaces wouldn't be the same. So the fact that they've got so much of that delay on, or sorry, verb and room and ambience, you can really hear it on the voice here. It really kind of glues that into the track. And it even sounds to me like they have a little bit of verb on the guitar, maybe like a room mic or something, because the guitar tone itself has a little bit, it kind of sounds stadium, if that makes sense. Like it literally sounds like what you're watching in the video. It's got that big anthemic sound. So I feel like, I know they used a lot of multi-miking on this, but I feel like they've either got a room mic in there or they've got a little bit of a reverb send thrown too on the guitar. And it's probably the same, if they are using a reverb, it's probably the same reverb that is on the vocal because it just gives it a little bit of an awesome space to it. Again, it glues it into the drums. And what's cool about it is the amount of ambience in this mix, but how freaking direct and powerful it sounds in terms of the energy. It's crazy because normally when you put ambience on something, it sets it back, right? It loses some of that upfront massive sound. In this case, it's Metallica. Like Bob Rock, Randy Staub should be given a freaking award for this mix. They probably have, but if they haven't, they should get 10 more because it's just like, again, it's 2023 and this still destroys. It's crazy how ahead of the time this mix was and how amazingly well it holds up. Listen to how loud that hi-hat is here. And it's a very smooth hi-hat. It's not, it's bright, but again, it doesn't have like a lot of harsh, like 2 to 3 cannon. So the hi-hat is just super loud carrying the groove. And it's cool because the hi-hat, it have a lot of direct hi-hat mic. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the room mics or the overheads are super cranked because there's a lot of ambience on them. The hi-hat has a lot of crank direct mic. And again, that directness of that hi-hat, even though the drums sound like they're in a massive space, really drives that groove. It's just massive. All right, I love the vocal effect there. There's a little bit of a chorusing thing. There's that little spooky guitar thing that's kind of, I don't know what effects unit they use, but it definitely sounds like, you know, late 80s, early 90s effects guitar process. You know, like maybe something like an SPX 990 or something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe an AMS. I don't know. Don't beat me up. I didn't make records back then. I was just a little boy. All right, here we go. Holy crap, that floor tom. Hold on, one more time. That you can really feel that. I love, there's like a subtle doubling on Hetfield's voice. There's those harmony vocals that come in. The vocal effect changes a little bit. It's sick. You can really hear it right there. Is it just me or does James Hetfield have one of the most iconic voices in heavy music? Talk about a gift. I mean, what a voice. Those crash cymbals are damn loud, but what makes it work in this mix is the fact that they're so sparse, meaning like he's not just crashing out. The whole song is just all hi-hat and groove. But then like when Lars does crash, it kind of just like it accents a certain downbeat or a certain hit. You know what I mean? And it works. Again, it makes this song just, it's all about the pocket and the groove. And this is something that I think is so important in mixing. It's just like every song, every instrument, every performance, you know, every mix has a pocket. You know, in mixing, it's balances and EQs and like getting into a certain movement, you know, compression, right? Getting the right push and pull through the speakers. In a performance, it's the right push and pull. Are you behind the beat or are you ahead of the beat? You know, everything has a pocket. And like this mix is in the pocket. The song and the arrangement is in the pocket. The performances are in the pocket. Like everything is just in this massive pocket. And all of that works together synergistically to push and pull out of speakers and just makes you want to move. And that's just what makes a great mix. Like the dynamics in this mix are incredible. The pocket is insane. I haven't listened to this in a while, and I got to be honest, it's so sick. All right, let's move forward a little bit here. Little lead guitar here. Again, I like the effect on it. It's very similar to the chorus, just a little bit not so wet. How massive are those chug, 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 chugs on the guitar? Like just the bottom end, you could just feel the energy. This is like the only mix where I can literally taste the tone. If that makes sense. Like I'll go back to the Apple analogy. Like every time I listen to it, I could literally taste it in my mouth. Like it's badass. Like that's an accomplishment where you get, I get a taste vibe, not just from listening. You know, it's crazy. All right, guitar. Super epic ambience on Kirk's solo. What's crazy is you have the guitar solo actually mixed under the kick and snare. So we know who lost that argument and who won that argument in the studio with the band. Because normally in a guitar solo, you would turn that up and it'd be like guitar, right? Listen to me. In this case, it's like, nah, we're going to favor the groove over the note choice of the solo, which is actually kind of a cool and bold move. It's not what you would expect and not what most mixers would do, but in this case, they did it and it works. Yeah, okay, I'll say it again. I think this is one of the heaviest mixes in history, period. Like, just take notes, everyone else, because like, for those of us that do audio production professionally, getting a mix that's this dynamic, has this much energy in it, that is this organic, yet, you know, like, I don't want to say edited and processed, but you know what I mean? Like, they definitely took their time really perfecting all these little details, right? Like it's like the perfect combination of organic and the perfect combination of like, you know, finding the perfect take. You know, if you can get a mix this in the pocket, that's what I'm trying to say. That's like the holy grail. And I think this mix isn't just a home run. It's almost to me like college football when the team blows out the other team by like 120 points, you know, and they run up the score like 120 to nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's how much better this mix is than everything that else that came out in that era. And even going forward, you know what I mean? Like I said, this mix still hangs and I still think it beats the crap out of so many modern mixes. So for me, this is one that is an eternal reference, gold star reel kind of mix. This should be on everybody's mix reel who does heavy music. This should be studied. This should be like archived and worshiped for its greatness. I mean, just bravo. It's the best of the best of the best. It's amazing. So let me know what you think of this mix in the comments below. Please take the time to listen to this on a great system. If you've never really heard this, it's worth it. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm always doing a ton of awesome mixing content. That's at Joel Wanasek. If you enjoy this kind of video, please click the like, subscribe, and the notification bell because I'm doing them like 2 times a week. Let me know in the comments what you want me to break down. And as always, check out nailthemix.com. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you next time.